Folks, welcome into That Betting Show, June 20th, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Sabranski. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Rightside VP. Let's get into it tonight, Teddy. Center stage. Roll out the red carpet. Zion Williamson to be that number one pick. If you're looking to bet on it, and it's a sure thing we know it is, well, minus 10,000. Not exactly a value pick on that end. If we're taking a look at the second overall pick, Teddy, looks like that's probably going to be Ja Morant. Third overall pick, R.J. Barrett. But after that, it does get a little bit interesting with the fourth pick and later. It's always fun to talk a little bit of basketball here. We know Zion's going to be number one. Some teams think they're getting superstars. Others, we'll see a couple years down the line. But the NBA draft tonight, center stage.
Sure. And I mean, from a betting standpoint, there's a ton of props for the NBA draft. I don't tend to get involved a lot because I don't waste my time trying to figure out who's going to draft who. That being said, people do that. And if you got down on any of the top three early, Zion at number one, Ja Morant at number two, R.J. Barrett at number three, they all look locked in. So if you're able to bet those guys early, hopefully you're in really good position for tonight, although things can and do change. But the interesting stuff really starts at number four. Darius Garland has been talked about. Jarrett Culver has been talked about. DeAndre Hunter has been talked about as possibilities. And, of course, that's New Orleans in the number four spot, a team that's talked very much about trading out of it and getting more. Atlanta's interested in the pick, Minnesota, Boston, Chicago. So I would expect that we'll see some interest and intrigue starting right around the fourth pick of the draft. Now, the other key point tonight that's worth making, a lot of teams need guards, particularly point guards. The Suns, the Bulls, the Wolves, all teams that are really hungry for point guard play. There's not that many point guards at the top of the board. Morant and Garland are going to go. Kobe White is the other guy that's really in the top 25. And after that, it's reach time. So it'll be interesting to see what the teams do that need point guards tonight. We may see a lot of competition to move up for that number four pick. And, of course, a couple of teams with multiple first-rounders, the Hawks with 3 first-rounders, the Celtics with 3 first-rounders. No surprise if those teams are active in the trading market as well in the NBA draft this evening.
And also, it's going to be interesting, Teddy, that second round, there's going to be some fireworks going off because, as you know, the first round of the NBA, those contracts are guaranteed. In the second round, teams like the Los Angeles Lakers, they're going to be making some moves to sort of fill out that roster with cheap talent with non-guaranteed contracts. You're going to see a lot of teams buying second rounders tonight. So should be a fulfilling night. Obviously, Zion's going to be front and center tonight, and rightfully should be. But after that, we should have a little bit of fun to talk about. Teddy, we got to get to something in Major League Baseball last night. The definition of an ace should have Max Scherzer's picture in it, not because he has 2 different color eyes, but actually technically now 3 different color eyes, Teddy, as you add a black eye last night and a broken nose and still dominant. Sometimes I think back and look, Teddy, at the Detroit Tigers lineup, no Verlander there, no Scherzer there, what it could have been for that team, because as we always say, hey, team's on the downswing, can't afford this guy, let's move on. Imagine those 2 frontline pitchers in your starting lineup. Scherzer was absolutely outstanding and made that Philadelphia Phillies lineup look feeble last night. Couple shots there, guys on second base, Scherzer striking at the side. An unbelievable performance. And I didn't even doubt it, Teddy, when he broke his nose and said he was pitching. He just write it in. He's going to dominate tonight, and he did. Amazing effort.
Sure, 117 pitches for Scherzer last night on a humid night. Struck out 10, only 4 hits. Only 2 runners got in scoring position all night. His quote, "Trust me, this thing looks a lot worse than it actually is. I felt 0 pain. There's been plenty of other injuries where I felt a lot of pain and I've had to pitch through. I'll hang my hat on those starts. But tonight, I felt 0 pain. That's part of what you have to do. You take the ball every 5th time. That's my responsibility to the team to make sure I always post. And I knew I could post tonight." And more Scherzer, quote, "Going out there and throwing, the only thing I had to deal with was the swelling underneath the eye. It was kind of jiggling around. And so in warm-ups, I just had to get used to knowing what it was feeling like to throw the ball and just have that swelling." Yeah, that was an ace-level showing. We'll give Max Scherzer a whole lot of credit for his performance last night. Not an easy thing to do.
One of the better free agent signings you're ever going to see, Max Scherzer going to the Nationals. And it was interesting, Teddy, you brought up that point there in his quote. They actually slowed it down and showing when he was taking his warm-up pitches in the first inning. The eye was actually jiggling around underneath, and he just said, you know what? A couple pitches, I'm good. I can handle this, and went out and dominated. An amazing performance there, almost like a throwback-type player. How about this one, Teddy? How about this series? The Reds sweep the Astros. Yes, you got that correctly there. So a lot of people, Teddy, on these social media outlets Ain't no way those Stros are getting swept. Well, they actually did get swept, and it needed a comeback in the ninth inning as they scored 2 runs. Maley went 7 innings, only giving up 2 earned runs to sort of wait out Garrett Cole was his dominant normal self. The Reds take that plus 170 ticket down and moving on and getting their 5th straight win tonight in Milwaukee. Hey, Reds, congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been saying all year, this is a Cincinnati Reds team that has legitimate breakout potential. And by breakout potential, I don't mean the Reds are going to win the World Series. I mean, the Reds have the potential to be in the wild card chase in the second half of the season, which is something they haven't done for the better part of the last half decade. The pitching's been there as long as the bats can come through, and they did last night, obviously in the latter stages. This Reds team has bet on potential. We'll break down their trip to Milwaukee later in the show.
How about this one, Teddy? Overnight line movers. As we know, SPRodds.com, the best place on the internet to get those lines that are changing. Keep up with all those line moves once again at SPRodds.com. How about this one? Gallen comes up from Miami, the heralded pitcher up from AAA, getting his call up his major league debut. Doesn't look like the markets are too interested in that, Teddy, because Wainwright's going to take the mound. Opened up on SPRodds.com around 160. Now we're sitting at around 185 to 190 with a total of 8. And I don't even know, Teddy, if this really has that much to do with Gallen going against Wainwright. The Miami bats absolutely dormant right now.
Yeah, I mean, they are again shut down again. Yesterday, though, I mean, I'm surprised at this big of a move because Gallen, I mean, he talk about a guy that has the numbers that the betting markets tend to like for the first big league starts. What do you go, 9-1 with a .177 ERA, yep. 112 strikeouts, just 17 walks in 91 innings at AAA New Orleans. You know, his quote, anytime you're pitching well, you want the call up to happen. I'm finally here. I'm excited. But, of course, he's facing the team that drafted him, the team that knows him, that could be an issue here. But, of course, Wainwright, 2 starts in June after an ugly May, has been much better, 2.19 ERA. And he is pitching on an extra day rest in this ballgame, although with an extra day rest this season, 0-1 with a 7.56 ERA. But the money coming on St. Louis, they like Wainwright in this matchup against a heralded rookie making his MLB debut.
We are the Reds, Teddy, and hear us roar. Going for 5 in a row tonight, and the Brewers line actually drops 15 cents here. Reds versus Brewers minus 130, total of 9.5. Roark versus Nelson tonight.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised by this. I mean, and again, when we talk about these bigger line moves overnight, they generally tend to be starting pitching related, and this is the market saying we don't trust Jimmy Nelson. You know, Nelson missed all of 2018. He recovered from surgery on his pitching shoulder. He has 2 starts and coming off the injured list here in June. Neither one has been pretty. Roark's not a guy the markets tend to love. He's got a 333 BABIP, though. That is something that is supposed to go down, but his 35% ground ball rate doesn't translate well to Miller Park. I don't think that we're going to see a ton more Cincinnati money than we already have.
Total on the rise here, Teddy, in Kansas City. No surprise here. Going to get a nice day. 85, 86 degrees at first pitch. Wind blowing out close to 10 miles an hour. Line opens up, or should say the total opens up, Teddy, at 9.5. Now we're seeing 10s mostly across the board at SPRodds.com. Royals getting 175 here at home with that total of 10. Odorizzi versus Sparkman.
Yeah, and of course, these 2 pitchers met up last week and both got hit hard. Sparkman got beat up. He got 5 runs in a Target Field last Saturday in 5 innings, only struck out 3 batters. He's not a pitcher that the betting markets are particularly excited about, and certainly the bullpen behind him is dicey. Odorizzi got hit hard by KC his last start. I mean, he's been really good all season. Rocco Baldelli following the game. For me, there's nothing to talk about. I threw the ball well and battled through making those pitches that maybe didn't want to make and figuring out and getting us to the middle of the game. When you're throwing the ball as well as he's thrown the ball for so many starts, it feels like anything but 6 or 7 innings with no runs. There's something to talk about. There's not. That being said, Royals hit him last time out, and they're facing him again in a short turnaround second look situation. Hence, all the over money in KC.
Watch what you bet here on That Betting Show, Teddy. We're going to head off to the Windy City, and the Mets are going to leave Atlanta and head there. Yesterday, the wind blowing in and a dominant pitcher on the mound didn't seem to calm down those Chicago Cubs bats. So they put up 7 runs in a 7-3 victory yesterday, easily covering the side and the total in that game. Take a look tonight, 8:05 p.m. Eastern Time, MLB Extra Innings, Wrigley Field. The Mets are 35-39 on the season. Cubs are 40-33. Going to be Lockett versus Chatwood tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Lockett making his Mets debut. He had 3 starts with the Padres last year, 0-3 with a 9.60 ERA in 15 innings. Don't worry about that too seriously, but obviously filling in here for Noah Syndergaard, who's on the injured list due to a strained right hamstring. Mickey Callaway, quote, he's been throwing the ball over the plate. A guy who has 4 walks in 31 innings in the minors. He's healthy. He's a guy that we brought into the organization this offseason to be that 6th starter, that depth starter that we knew we need at some point. So, even though his numbers aren't ridiculous, and last year his call-up numbers were really dicey, Mets are saying, hey, this is what we planned for. He's our guy. We think he'll do fine. Markets don't like Tyler Chatwood. And certainly when you think about what's happened with Chatwood's career since arriving in Chicago, you can't say they blame him. $38 million deal, and basically he pitched his way out of the rotation. He's pitching in the starting role here because Kyle Hendricks is on the DL. Joe Madden, quote, he's been pitching a lot better. He came here for a specific reason. We believed he's earned this opportunity to pitch in this situation. Chatwood's quote, it's gratifying. I feel like I've thrown the ball pretty well. I feel fresh. I think I'm in a better spot than I was last time in late April when I threw 70-something pitches last time. I can understand why the Cubs are not big chalk in this game. All that being said, that was an impressive win over Giolito yesterday. There could be some strong momentum carried forward from that, especially after the Mets felt good about themselves and then got slapped around immediately one day after their players-only meeting that resulted in a Tuesday night bonus and then a Wednesday night loss.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see what comes out because as we know, Chatwood, Teddy, he does have some pretty good stuff, strikeout ability, but he always gets himself in trouble. Too many walks an inning. They count just as much as base hits half the time. If you're going to go 5 or 6 innings and give up 6 or 7 walks, that's never going to help, especially in a place like Wrigley. How about this next series we're going to talk about, Teddy? One team coming off a sweep, one team getting swept. The Rays coming out of Yankee Stadium, losers of 3 straight there. Tough interdivision games. Now you're going to fly out west. We're going to take a look at the Oakland Athletics. Hey, everybody loves to play those Baltimore Orioles. They sweep the Orioles out of town. The Rays and the Athletics tonight, nice little line in this one, Teddy. -110 in the favor of the Athletics, a total of 7.5. The Rays, 43-31 on the season. The Athletics, 39-36. Those A's bats coming alive. Big series for them as well. But those Rays, Teddy, got to cut the bleeding somewhere here.
Yeah, these two teams battled for the second wild card berth last year, and it looks like they may well battle for the second wild card game this year. These are meaningful games between Tampa and Oakland. Of course, they played a meaningful game 2 weeks ago down in Tampa, and Charlie Morton mowed down this A's lineup. 7 innings, 2 hits. They won, 6-2 in that ballgame. Morton was on fire. At that point, this was June 10th, 10 days ago. Rays were 9 games ahead of the A's in the wild card days. Well, since then, Tampa's lost 7 of 9. The A's have won 6 of 8. And now, all of a sudden, things are getting real interesting between these two teams. After, obviously Tampa got swept over the course of the week. Now, Morton had not lost, his team hadn't lost he hadn't lost in 21 games dating back to last August, but he lost his last start against the Angels. Quote, those kind of games, you make a couple of mistakes and you pay for them. The Angels put some really good swings on those pitches. A nice quote from Bob Melvin here, talking about Oakland right now. These guys showed fight last year. They're fighters. We've gone through a little bit tougher stretches this year and been tested, but these guys are really good about putting a game away and going out there and playing for that day, playing 100% and doing the same thing the next day, no matter what happens. Boy, I like Morton. He's not a guy I'm in any rush to bet against, but I like the way these A's are playing. Tough one for me to get involved in.
Should be an interesting one here coming up, Teddy, as Mad Bum tries to cool off those Dodger bats. After a while, we talked about it a few times on the show. Dodgers only a couple runs here and there, but their bullpen was holding up. Their starting pitching was holding up. And now we're seeing back-to-back 9 spots by those Los Angeles Dodgers. So Mad Bum's going to take them out tonight. And he's getting a lot of support here. Dodgers favorite at -175 with a total of 7.5 tonight. 10-10 start live from Dodger Stadium. Giants are 31-41 on the season. Dodgers, how about this one, Teddy? First one there, 50-25 on the season, including an outrageous 30-9 at home. Can Mad Bum cool those bats off? But more importantly, can those Giants get some base hits, Teddy?
Well, you want to talk about a little under-the-radar angle. In June, the Dodgers, talk about team totals, 17 games in June for LA. Their opponent has scored 3 or less in 15 of those 17 games. So you've been betting the Dodgers opponents' team totals under. You got a bonanza going right now. You're rolling in cash because it hasn't just been one starter after the next. It's been the bullpen behind them game in, game out. This Dodgers staff has been tremendous. And you have a Giants team that can't hit. And that's a problem for San Fran. All that being said, Bumgarner against the Dodgers, I mean, he's been special. He's been special repeatedly. And this may well be his last start as a Giant against L.A. You know, Bumgarner gave up that home run to Muncy last time he faced the Dodgers. That was the only run of the game. I would not be surprised at all if we see another pitcher's duel at Dodger Stadium this evening.
How about this, Teddy? Two-part off the mic section here. And if you haven't been watching the College World Series, you're getting a little bit of interesting feedback here because this guy's been doing this for about 15 years, called the Vandy Whistler, Teddy. And just to put this in your head, we all have had this, whether you watch a Stanley Cup final, whether you watch just a hockey game, a basketball game, a football game. What is that noise in the background, Teddy? This guy has been whistling for 15 years at Vandy games. Preacher Franklin has been whistling at the Vandy games for 15 years, but was finally approached by TD Ameritrade Park officials in Omaha to knock it off. So he says, Teddy, legally, I don't see how they can shut me up. They're making their own rules as they go. I think they ought to just leave me alone. We've all been to, well, I don't even care if it's middle school, high school. We've all seen the annoying person. Just let the rest of the people enjoy their game. There's always one guy, Teddy, that says, this game ain't about the kids on the field. It's not about your enjoyment. It's about me whistling. I love it. Throw the guy out of here.
So for once, Donnie, I get to agree with you. In general, yeah, everybody's free. All right, it's a free country. You can want to whistle, you can whistle. But when your whistling starts annoying everybody else in the ballpark, shut up, bro. Just shut up. He tripped out his van. He drove, 800 miles out to the College World Series. I understand. You're a huge fan. Have a great time. Just don't ruin it for everyone else. God, I sound like a second grade teacher. Don't ruin the fun for everybody else. But honestly, that's the truth. Shut up. Stop whistling.
I mean, in any part of life, like whether you go to the bank or Teddy, you're at the casino or just hanging out with friends, like who is this guy on the opposite side of the room that just can't help be all about himself there? I love the fact that they're pressing on it because you can hear it through TV, and once you get it in your mind, you can't get it out. Good. Throw the guy out. Here's the second part of our off the segment here today, Teddy. I'm a huge conspiracy theorist here, right? So we're taking a look at the Los Angeles Lakers taking front and center here in the offseason. They're trying to work their hardest, Teddy, to get that extra max slot available to try to get another free agent to town. Well, just figures out that if Anthony Davis waives his $4 million trade kicker, that would open up that extra spot. So out of nowhere, Teddy, voila. Hey, I got a great movie set here. Why don't you come on set? We'll pay you accordingly here. I love this move by the Lakers, Teddy.
Well, I mean, that's the advantage of playing in L.A. And that's why guys want to go from New Orleans, where they can be basketball stars, to Los Angeles, where they can be basketball stars and movie stars. You know, that's the advantage that the Lakers have that other teams just don't have. The Clips have it. They don't use it. The Knicks have had it. They don't use it really that much either. But when you're talking about attracting stars and not having to pay them max dollars because they're getting money elsewhere, Lakers have been really good about exploiting that role. That's why they've been one of the NBA's glamour franchises for the better part of the last 60 years.
Yep, had to get Shaq out of Orlando. Why don't you come out and make Shazam out here on the West Coast? Well, that worked for them. Lakers dynasty put a couple more rings in their pocket and trophies. It's what they do best. But, Teddy, you know what's even better here? Analytics people would have loved this show today. Why is that today on That Betting Show? Because we got in and out in under 20 minutes, quick and efficient. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. Once again, he's Teddy Savransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at RightSideVP. Join us tomorrow. We'll talk drafting. Guess what? On Monday, we're going to start the top 20 in college football and give you a breakdown of each one of those teams, getting you ready for opening day in college football. Thanks for joining us today. Good luck tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow.